Welcome to the All In Skills podcast. This time I'm really happy to be joined by career mentor Luciana Jungman. Luciana, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Cole.
Luciana, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do as career mentor?
Sure. I'm a psychologist, and after almost 30 years working in human resources, actually recruitment, now I'm working as a career mentor, helping young people to find their passion, to find their purpose, to find something that is really something that makes sense and that will be something that they like to do, not only to work to have money, but work in something they will enjoy and they'll have a purpose in their life.
So in your current role as career mentor, do you find that nearly all of your clients are in fact younger people?
Yes, younger people, usually in high school, last year in high school, when they should, here in Brazil, is when they should decide what university they're going to apply for.
So young people in Brazil, where you live and work, making that decision, I think for people in other countries, they would consider that to be quite young, to be making career choices at the age of 17, 18. Or is that normal where you are?
Yes, it's normal, but it is really young. I think it is really young. And I know that for some countries is even younger. I think with 15, 16 years, they are already having to make this decision. Here in Latin America, I think it's really a culture in Latin America where people should make this decision in a really young phase. And they don't have any experience, life experience, work experience, and they have to make this decision based on what they think, their fantasy that things work. So
Use the word fantasy. So does that mean that you have young people coming to you with, let's say, fantastic ideas, unrealistic ideas, and is it then your role to ground them a little bit more in reality? I mean, how's your work
exactly.
cut out with these people?
Well, some people come without any idea about they want to work for, and some people come already knowing like the area, but they want to be sure. And my work consists in basically two parts. Part one is about self-awareness. So I do a lot of exercises with them about awareness. So a lot of talking, exercising, tests, and more talking. And there's a very dense part, where we talk to understand what their talents are, what their skills are, what they're interested, what they like, what makes them happy, you know. And then second part, when we know already some areas of interest, we choose some of them to research. So they should research looking for professionals to talk. So always 3 professionals at least from this area, X area, to talk and to make an interview, and 3 universities to research a lot of information, including prices, location, subjects. So because some people, I have people that come, for instance, they started studying computer science. So they study some months and then they left university because they didn't like the subjects. So they didn't even know what subjects they were going to learn. So I think this is why it's so important to research, what subjects you'll find in the university.
Luciana, who is engaging your services? Is it the young people themselves, the family? Who's making that decision to come to a career mentor?
Usually family with the young people. Usually, sometimes the young people want, sometimes the family wants, but I talk to both. It's a conversation that both of them has to be engaged.
How often do you find that a young person comes to you with a genuine passion for a subject or an area?
It's not the most common. Usually people come more lost, needing to be guided because it looks like they don't like anything, but they do. You just have to push and see where is it? Where is the passion?
You told me that you studied psychology yourself. Was that in fact, was that a passion for you?
It was a passion for me. When I graduated, I wanted to have a clinic and work as a therapist. So I wanted, after graduation, I went to this Institute of Psychoanalysis, Brazilian Institute of Psychoanalysis, and I wanted to make this course. And during the interview, the lady that was interviewing, she said, "Look, you are great, but you don't have any experience, any life experience." I was only 22 when I graduated, because this is the matter here in Brazil. We start college really young and we finish really young as well. So I was only 22. And she said to me, "You don't have any life experience to work as a therapist, to have clients, older people." So what I did was that I went after my life experience. So I started working in human resources.
Was that a job in a large company, a small company?
When I started,
In human resources.
yes, I started working in a consultancy firm, a headhunting firm, was a boutique. And then I went to another small one. And then finally I went to Companhia de Talentos, which is a very big company, recruiting company here in Brazil. And here is where I learned a lot of things like questions. I learned how to be a consultant. And then I wanted to have the experience being in the other side, in the client side. So I had the opportunity to work at Unibanco, which is a bank, a big bank in Brazil. And then I wanted to have an experience working in a multinational company. I wanted to speak English, so I went to Convergys, and it was an outsourcing company.
Let me just ask you, you're moving from company to company. So you started a boutique and then you gradually get bigger and bigger. I know that Unibanco at the time was a very large bank. I know it's
Yes.
part of an even bigger bank. Each of these moves for you, were these moves that you felt that you made that decision, or is it conditions within the company that sort of pushed you in a new direction?
I was making the decision. The companies were getting small for me, except and the bank, it was not getting small, but I wanted to have the international experience. So I made the decision. The Convergys was a condition at the company. 2008 was the global crisis. And our main client was Johnson & Johnson, and they quit the contract worldwide. So we were going to be without the main client. And I was really quick to go to Estadão, which is the biggest journal here in Brazil. And it was the first time I was a manager. It was really nice. I went as a talent acquisition manager.
Right. And just to give us an idea of scale, how big was the team that you were working with in that job at Estadão?
I think we were in 10 people. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Estadão, LinkedIn contacted me through LinkedIn. They sent me an email. And so I attended this selective process, was interviewed by 10 people, and I was hired by LinkedIn as the second hire at LinkedIn Brazil, and it was fantastic. I helped build LinkedIn in Brazil.
So you were the second hire. Were you
Yes.
hired early because your job was then to
Yes,
fill out the company?
exactly. Exactly. Actually, the country manager was hired, Osvaldo Barbosa Oliveira, and there was another director of sales that was hired after me, but he started working before me, which is Milton. And he says he's the second, but I was the second. But Milton, he started before me, so he was actually the second. And today he's the CEO of LinkedIn.
Before 2010, before LinkedIn actually started operations in Brazil, Clearly, you've said already you had a LinkedIn profile. How prominent, how important was LinkedIn before your time at LinkedIn for the job market in Brazil?
People used LinkedIn already, not as much as today. Like today, after LinkedIn, I didn't have a CV anymore. But before LinkedIn come to Brazil, the CV was really important. And before LinkedIn contacted me, I had a friend. My LinkedIn was in Portuguese. And a friend told me, why don't you put your LinkedIn in English? Have it in a second language in English. So I had it in English, and LinkedIn contacted me. So it was really in the very beginning. We didn't use it so much because every material was in English, everything in English, and Brazil was still a very Portuguese-centered country.
So people were using LinkedIn, but presumably it was not quite as ubiquitous as it is today.
Exactly.
Okay, so into LinkedIn you go. Tell us something about your experience of the early days of LinkedIn Brazil.
First thing I did, I went to California, the United States, to know people from all kinds of business, all the business units, because we didn't have a competitor from LinkedIn to take people. So I would have to imagine where I was going to find those people. So I went to United States and I talked to everybody to understand their profile, what experience they had. And it was amazing, my team, and know people from different teams. And then I came back to Brazil and started working and started hiring the first people.
Tell me something then about what you observed of the importance of LinkedIn as a job seeking tool in Brazil while you were there. What did you witness?
I think LinkedIn has a great importance not only as a job search tool, but as a networking tool as well, and a place where people can post things and can have presence in a network that is professional, that has a different importance. And I think it changed totally the way that we hire people, because before we used to say that recruiters should post and pray. You post the position and you pray to have people good that apply. And with LinkedIn, the big difference is that you don't have only active candidates.
Yes.
You also have the passive candidates, people that are not looking for jobs. Like 80% of people are not looking for jobs, but are open to hear about an opportunity. So you open your possibilities totally, you know. So you
So
have
as
the
an
active candidates, passive candidates, and it totally changes. You talk to a lot of people, and you don't and you know where people are. LinkedIn brought transparency as well. Before you had to hire a headhunter to know where people are, who people are, like who is the director of marketing at Nestle. You don't know. You have to hire a headhunter. Now LinkedIn puts here to everyone. You want to see, you make a search and you can see. It changes totally the way we
do you think it's a little bit more democratic than it used to be?
totally transparent and democratic.
For a young person in their early 20s, who are perhaps is still studying their undergraduate degree, hasn't yet graduated, or somebody who's newly graduated but doesn't have much of a CV to talk about.
Okay.
What's the function of LinkedIn for these people? How should they be using it, and how should they use it?
Of course, they should use it, and they should use it to connect to people, to follow people that they admire, and maybe connect to these people and learn from these people. And they should have a presence as well. And I have some tips for our young people watching us, which is have a nice picture in your profile. People that have picture have 21 more views than people that doesn't have picture.
So when you say a picture, I'm sure that there's more to it than simply just having a picture. Can you give us a little bit more information about what the picture should be? Something smiling, something in a suit. What's appropriate?
So it depends on your field. For instance, if you're a lawyer, yes, definitely in a suit. If you're computer science, you can wear a shirt. So it depends on your field. But a professional picture, like without dogs, without other people together, without not in a bar or nightclub, on a pub. So it has to be a nice picture in a work environment with a good light. It can be smiling or not, but like a picture that will define the way you are and that you feel comfortable with.
Okay. So your first tip then is take a good picture. Okay. What's the
Yes.
next? What's the next
Next.
LinkedIn tip?
Next LinkedIn tip is have an attractive header. Header is that part that is behind your picture. So you can put there your brand or your purpose or phrase or anything, or even only a color, anything, but just something nice. It can be only one color.
So if I'm an 18-year-old and I'm thinking about going to do chemical engineering, what should my banner be?
Chemical engineering, it can be an image from chemistry, that's letters from chemistry, numbers, something like
Formulas.
this. Formulas, exactly. Can be something like this, or only a color. Just a nice header. There's a new nice function that is record your name. You can record now because many people don't know how to pronounce it. It happens to me when foreign people will say my name, that is a Brazilian name. They usually don't know. So it's nice to record your name. You can include your pronoun. 70% of hiring managers think this is very respectful if you have the pronoun and can use it. Another new function is that you can create a profile video. So you have 30 seconds that you can either share your experience or tell your challenges or your goals. You can tell your goals. It's really nice when you use for it.
A 30-second face-to-camera video, is that what you're talking?
Face-to-camera video. Yes.
Okay, so how much production value do we need to worry about for this 30-second video?
It's really simple. You can make it from your phone. No production needed. Just a clear space, clear and clean space. And speaking about or either your career or other things that you'd like, presenting yourself.
Okay, and so that's relatively new, is it?
Yes, it's new.
Okay, it's interesting. And what other key tips have you got for the LinkedIn presence of a young person?
If you have a sector already, add your sector. Many people look for big searches by sector, like 300,000 people put sector in their searches. So important to put sector.
And if you're not sure of the sector, is it best to err on the side of caution and say if it might be something to do with me, I'll tick it? Or how narrow should the sector be for you?
It depends. It depends, really. It depends if the person wants to work in a determined sector and how important this is, or if he's open to work in any sector.
I'm imagining somebody who's 18 years old, who's decided to do a degree in graphic design. It must be quite hard then to feel that they've been, this is my sector.
Graphic design, open sector. Open sector because you can be a graphic design in any sector. So you shouldn't really narrow your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, so choosing a sector depending on what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. It's nice to write a summary. It's 40 words, and you don't need to use 40 words because you don't have this experience. So don't worry. Important just to say that you're a student and that you are open to have experiences and opportunities. So I think I wouldn't worry about putting too much in this.
But the
summary.
again, the summary is important.
Is important. Is important. It's just sometimes people look at the summary to see who is this person.
Your career has spanned 3 decades, and there have been changes, remarkable changes. And you mentioned that early on the internet wasn't a big deal. It's now, of course, central to everything that we do. And you sat on both sides of the table, hiring and being hired. How has this process changed over these 3 decades?
Point of view of recruiter, I think it's what I said. LinkedIn changed the way that we recruit. Now we don't have only the active candidates, we have also the passive candidates, and 80% of the network is open to listen to opportunities. So you have like the whole bunch of people that you can talk. Point of view of the candidate, I think recruiters talk to so many candidates that many of them don't give feedback. They don't have time to give feedback to candidates. So it's a shame because many candidates don't know what happened. Like many of them, they apply and they don't have an answer, or they make an interview and then they don't have an answer. So I think this is what's happening with all this volume of people that are involved in the recruiting process now. I think half of people have feedback and half of people don't have. Feedback in recruiting process is you passed to the next phase, or you passed in this position, or you didn't pass. I'm sorry. This is the feedback. It's not any recruiting process will give the candidate feedback on why he didn't pass. This doesn't exist. And I think this is not the recruiter's role, really. I think this is a development role, and that will take some time, and the person really should be open to listen. And really, I don't think it's the recruiter role. Once I gave feedback to someone at the very beginning of my career, and I regretted so much because the person he said, no, I'm not this way. I can't remember what I said, but I told him he didn't pass because he didn't have X experience. And he said, no, I don't agree with you because the experience I have is great, something like this. And I said, my God, I shouldn't have said anything.
So
because he doesn't have to agree or not agree. It's just that decision made.
Yeah. So a young person who is embarking on this process, and it can feel quite soul destroying. Apply for jobs, hear nothing, apply for a job, get an interview, maybe have a second interview, get declined. You get that feedback. Thank you, but not this time. How can they learn from these experiences? What can they take away from failed job applications?
Unfortunately, he won't learn from this experience, but he has to be strong enough to understand that maybe there was nothing with him. Sometimes the company is interviewing female and male, and they decided they want a male because they have a lot of female in the team and they want a male. Or sometimes they have too many white people and they want black people. So the problem is that you are white. Or sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you have experience in one sector and they want people that had experience with a different sector. So you won't learn, but many times it's not about you. And many times it will not has to do with the candidate. It not has to do with you. It's something that you have to change.
Okay, now, so here's a slightly delicate question. What about when it is you? What about when it is something that you're doing?
Okay.
You mentioned earlier about self-awareness. How do you get to the point of becoming self-aware if the only feedback you get is, I'm afraid you didn't get the job?
Yes, so great. He will learn about self-awareness in his job with his manager or with a mentor. A mentor can change lives, or with, yes, a career developer. He will not learn about him in a recruiting process. He can learn about the process in a recruiting process. He can learn what questions are made, how he can be prepared for the next one. For instance, some questions were made and he felt he was not prepared. So for the next one, he will be more prepared. So he can learn but he will not learn about self-awareness in the recruiting process.
I appreciate that, but let me make it even more basic. If your objective through your career is to climb the ladder, and you cannot even get onto the first rung, you can't even start the ascent, where does this mentorship come from? Where does this guidance come from? For somebody, let's imagine an imaginary person who just has a manner which people find abrasive or aggressive or arrogant. They're not getting the feedback from the recruiter, as you say, which is understandable. Where can that information come from? How do they get told?
If he did an internship or part-time job or job, this responsibility remains on his manager. If he didn't get this chance and he's in this situation, he can think about a mentor, and a mentor can be someone he admires. He can see in the internet someone in his sector that he admires, and he can write him an email asking if this person would like to be his mentor. And, many people will accept. And you don't have to have only one mentor. You can have more than one. So you can write to more than one person. And some people will accept. And I think this is a good way to start.
Get the feedback.
To get the feedback. Exactly.
Excellent.
Some things that I would like to know before, if I could, there are two things. One is that mentors change your life. So this is something that I thoroughly appreciate. And the second is when you start working, document your wins. Have like a career journal where you can write your wins. Like, doesn't have to be every little thing that you do, but one or two things in each company you work, because then in interviews, you'll be asked about accomplishments and in each company, mistakes that you did, things that happened, and we assume we will remember, but we don't remember.
We forget.
We forget.
When you're asked those questions like about mistakes you have made in an interview, that's a thing, right? People ask that question.
Yes, people ask that question, like, tell me about a mistake you made and what did you learn from it? Sometimes, I don't know, if you did something with your colleague and like you didn't let him express and you wanted to do things like in your own way, and then you regret because you saw that you could have learned from his perspective. Something like this. Probably young people should give examples from his experience in university. I'm sorry, I have something here. So from college experience, probably. Or family.
The last question I want to ask you actually relates to artificial intelligence. I wonder if you can tell me if this is having an impact on the kind of decisions that young people are making about the kind of careers that they go into. So you have a 17/18-year-old come to you as a client. Are there careers that nowadays you would say, you should think twice about that because AI is having a very massive impact on that area? Do you see any of that?
I think AI is changing a lot and will change much more than we imagine. But I usually don't say anything against any choice because I think there is their choice. And we actually don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think AI is changing and it will be, it's so quick and we don't know exactly how things will be. We know that we hear a lot of things, that we won't have lawyers anymore, that we don't know if we'll have doctors. We hear lots of things, but I'm not sure how AI is going. AI can have scalability, cost saving, efficiency, and everything, but I don't think AI can have the human touch that we have, So I still think that AI is not getting our jobs, or if it gets, at the same time, we'll deliver different jobs in the area that we'll get. So, and these people will be able to get this job.
Luciana Jungman, thank you very much for your time.